Ian, we got a Patreon.
We do. Patreon.com/CU podcast. You go, you give money, we give stuff in return. What do we give in return? Oh, we do hangouts once a month. You get the full video podcast. I do a writing about once a week. I wrote a little bit about basketball this week because that's all I did all weekend was watch basketball and work. And we do polls. Poll topics.
Like pole position, like the theme song you don't know from the cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
You did the Galaga theme instead. Second place, do big video game releases get too much hype? 33%. 1/3. And in first place, 67%. What retro games would you want to see a 2D modern remake of? This is sort of on the piggybacking off of the topic from a week or two ago about Nintendo remakes.
So if I had my druthers...
that's my term, damn it.
If I had my druthers, it would be... and this is piggybacking off of last week, it's still more. I want to see Zelda 2 remade in 2D. Because the more I think about it, the more I realize everything I like about Zelda 2 is kind of inherently tied to the fact that it's a 2D game. If you take Zelda 2 and
that's how it plays, yeah.
Yeah, if you take Zelda 2 and you open it up into an open world, I think it loses some of its individuality and its charm. When you take a game like Zelda, the original, I think there's an easier translation of the type of gameplay you're going for in an overworld Zelda to an open world like 3D Zelda. I think taking something like Zelda 1 or Link to the Past, and then the evolution from something
because
like,
you have a big map that you're already walking around.
You're already moving around in a space, circling around. So I think the transition from something like that to say Ocarina of Time or Breath of the Wild, that's a lot cleaner.
Because that's action adventure, and Zelda 2 is more like action RPG.
Right. That's a smoother transition. But the platforming elements and all that are what I think really... The platforming elements, the 2D exploration of the palaces, which could be looked at as almost like tiny Metroidvania type levels. I think you lose some of the
combat, obviously, actually using your shield.
Yeah, you lose a lot of what makes that game unique if you try to put it into... if you try to put it into 3D. So yeah, I'd love to see that. I don't think Nintendo would ever do that. I think we may get to the point where Nintendo revisits Zelda 2. I don't think they'll redo it as a 2D game.
Just so people online can whine about how it's not a real Zelda game. I can't wait for that, Ian. That'll be great.
It'll be amazing.
It's not real. It's not real. Okay, 20-year-old. Okay. I brought up Kid Icarus before. How I think that'd be an awesome one to see remade properly. Like 16-bit style. That'd be let's veer off of Nintendo though. Let's try to veer away from Nintendo. I think we had a 16-bit remake of Ninja Gaiden on Super Nintendo. It was not good. It wasn't as good as the NES one somehow in the trilogy. So we had that. So that one's done. I would actually love if they did the they did Contra 4, but redo the original Contra, but just do it 16-bit. Just glossy up the graphics. I'd play that.
Sure.
Same as that layout, same as that gameplay. That could be something. It's almost like, then what's the point then? But no, just for giggles.
Sometimes it's nice to see a fresh coat of paint on something you really like.
Just for giggles.
And if you don't like it, you've always got the original still.
Let's see. Would you want to see? I'm looking at the wall there because you love this game and I don't. Goonies 2, the 16-bit remake.
I would love to see a remake of Goonies 2 that made the between, the maze parts not an absolute chore to
made it a little bit easier. I had to randomly hammer shit and punch things.
I admittedly like the idea of Goonies 2 better than how it's executed. But I do think there's a lot of fun to be had in Goonies 2. I think the platforming and the exploration is great, and I think the maze levels are an interesting idea. But yeah, it's really, really tedious.
Looking at this is the one I brought up a few weeks ago about someone online. I went back and forth and how I thought it was terrible. I said no, it's actually pretty good. The original Ninja Turtles. I think if you remade that,
yes,
and smoothed out the edges, that could be really good.
What is it about game? I love the original Ninja Turtles games that have an overhead map but 2D side-scrolling levels. Like I love Zelda 2. I love the original Ninja Turtles. And yeah, I think those really would those are ripe for a 2D remake because you can't
tighten the controls a little bit with the jumping. Get rid of more of the constantly reappearing enemies, so you make it a little bit easier to get through, and upgrade the graphics. Hell, throw in a multiplayer while you're at it. 2 guys on the screen somehow crunched in. There you go. that would sell like hotcakes. I'd buy that in a second. And yeah, and maybe save states for Ninja Turtle. Yeah, that'd be a big one. The soundtrack's already amazing on that game. People go, oh, it's terrible. It looks pretty good. It sounds great. The game, it's a little too hard for you. Sorry. That's all.
One last one that I would love to see a 2D remake of, and I feel like Inti Creates could actually probably do this one pretty well. Guardian Legend.
Okay.
On the NES. Open exploratory Zelda style action game with 2D shooter levels.
Oh god, Ian's getting moist thinking about that. Yeah. Seriously.
And I love that game. I would love to see it with a little bit more visual variety because it does get pretty repetitive in terms of how it looks. But it's a great idea for a game, and I'd like to see that fleshed out better.
You know what game that I think could be remade that I've grown to appreciate but couldn't stand at the time? Karnov. I think Karnov could be a little bit interesting as a 16-bit game.
Treg loves that game.
With the problem with that game is there aren't enough buttons, first of all, and it's not intuitive when you're 8 years old trying to figure it out with all the different items and stuff. But if you made it a little bit better looking, you made it a little more intuitive with the controls. You have 8 buttons to deal with, or 6. I think that could be something.
Yeah,
I go back and you get the ladder out easily, or do the whatever bombs, whatever. I don't think I appreciated Karnov for what it was. It was fairly popular at the time.
Yeah, no, I mean,
it was on it was on the computer. It was on.
We've always got copies of it. I mean, people sold. Had it. Yeah.
I mean, that was still early NES. I mean, I came out early '87 ish. So like we're talking about still like the early stage of the NES where you did a lot of those arcade ports and games that people were not forced to play, but you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that was once like that. How about we go a little more deeper? Would there be any 16-bit era games you want to see remade that probably even still could be remade because maybe the controls aren't good or just wasn't working for you? I got one that might be controversial, but I'll let you go first.
That's getting sprung on me, so let me think a bit. I want to hear what your controversial one is.
I think they should remake the original Splatterhouse. That game has issues. That game has, I think, control issues a little bit, and I think you can put a little more zest in the gameplay.
A little more zest. Yeah.
A little more zest.
I like the game, but it is kind of rigid.
Yeah.
It feels rigid, I guess, would be a term I'd use to describe it.
I think you can do that a little bit better. I think you can do a little more variety of weapons and using the weapons more, and I think you can do more with that. I think you can pull back the camera and have more and make them a little bit smaller and have a little more space to move and to dodge and things like that. I think you could do a little bit with Splatterhouse.
It's funny because when we're getting to this point where
widescreen Splatterhouse, there you go.
We're getting to a point where it's because retro games became very popular again, and people realize there's still a lot of fun to be had in these old style of games. It's hard for me to actually think of something that actually hasn't been done. I wanted to be like Streets of Rage. Well, we did. I mean, we got Streets of Rage 4, and then I wanted to say like Devil's Crush or Alien Crush, and it's not by the same people, but we've got Demon's Tilt, which is a modern reimagining essentially of. So people are taking a lot of these good ideas and already running with them.
Yeah, fuck it, Rolling Thunder. There you go. Even though they did two, I want the original one remade. I mean, the controls are perfect, but no, it's perfect. What am I talking about? Don't
remake that.
Don't touch.
No,
that.
Some things just definitely
don't touch that.
To be remade.
Graphics are fine. It looks great. It sounds great. Controls great. I think Splatterhouse. That's the one. Ooh, I got one now.
All right.
Looking at it. Why didn't I not think of this one? My lovely game, and it's another one that's more action adventure with an overhead Rygar.
They actually did.
What? There's a 16-bit Rygar?
No, there's a remake of Rygar on the PS2. They did not do a 16-bit version.
No, not that. Okay. No, give me Tecmo. You're out there. You're still out there.
You're out there, Tecmo.
Give me a 16-bit Rygar with a password, please. Or whatever, save states, but password, please. I think that's my one. That would be brilliant, I think. Yes. That's it. I don't know why I think of that one. That was fun.